So, like, what do you make of some of the ups and downs with Golden State that we've seen recently, Jason?
Yeah, I think that Golden State in general is a tough matchup for every team in the regular season on a night in, night out type of context because of the different style that they play. And they just play so fast, and there's so much off-ball movement, and there's so many spread pick and roll teams that you run into in the league. Or, like, for instance, like, I like the Laker defense handling OKC and, like, funneling Shea's drives down the lane line into help and having their kind of rotations preset on the backside more than I like the blender of Golden State against them, because it can cause so many problems. I think that Golden State is a team that for 10 years has been playing that style, that let's spread you out with five smalls and let's switch everything and turn into, like, who can create better shots with our small ball groups. I think they thrive in those settings. I think where you can run into problems with them is their best lineup right now is going to include Jimmy Butler and Draymond Green at the 4 and 5. And that with Pods or Gary Payton alongside Steph, you have 2 6'3" guys at the 1 and 2. And you got Moses Moody, who's a decent sized wing, who I think has actually done a really nice job in that role as the primary point of attack guy since the trade. However, he's not exactly the greatest and most difficult athlete to handle in the world. And so I think it turns into a situation where there's a certain amount of just vulnerability they have to teams that can bully them. This, by the way, is like why, like, when I look at, we're going to talk Lakers in a little bit, when I look at the Luka situation from that Thursday night game, is the weird factor is, like, how different does that game look if Luka really looks to punish the smalls for Golden State in a way that he didn't look to in that particular game. And so I think there's some vulnerability there, but at the same time it gets flipped. So one of the biggest problems that you can have dealing with Golden State is Steph coming off of high ball screens. And if he can attack, in a game where he plays better, if he can get 2 on the ball consistently against Şengün in space and create those 4-on-3s. Same thing with Jokic. If he can get into some of these bigger teams, Zubats in a high ball screen, if he can get some of these teams into rotation more and make these bigs cover ground in space, just like they did for years and years when they were a better version of themselves, that to me is another side of that coin. I think it's easy after any regular season game to take, like, the Rockets game and be like, oh, look, bad matchup, and then look at the Lakers game and be like, oh yeah, great matchup. That could completely flip if Steph just does a better job against Houston and if Luka just does a better job in the Golden State game. So it's like a lot of that has to do with just how well you leverage your advantages.
Sure. And like you mentioned, if Steph had done a better job in that game, he goes 1 for 10. He only has 3 points. It's one of his worst games. As I said earlier, I'm watching that game. Has Steph ever been defended better in a single individual game? Now, the flip side of that is, okay, Steph has a poor game. Hield scores 20. He keeps it close-ish. Pods continues shining for them. He's been tremendous for them in recent months. 19 points, 6 and 4 as well. Draymond in that game, he's defended by Fred VanVleet for most of the game. 6-foot Fred VanVleet shut down. Jonathan Kuminga does very little. And then Jimmy Butler, only 7 shots, only 13 points, and he had 4 meaningless points in garbage time of that game. And this is a perfect example, I felt, of why I said Butler isn't saving the Warriors. It's Steph and Draymond restoring themselves that has really turned the season around. Steph becoming a top 5 MVP candidate in a lot of people's eyes. Draymond becoming the defensive player of the year in his own eyes and a lot of other people's eyes as well. But Butler in that game, he's had some great moments. I don't want to take anything away from him with what he's done recently. He was also good last week against the Lakers, despite not scoring a lot. But he hasn't taken over and dominated a game. He hasn't seized the game since game 2 of the 23 East Finals. Like, that's just the reality. It's been 2.5 years since he's done it. And that's where I look at it. This was an opportunity against the Rockets in a really big game to take over and dominate, and he didn't do it. And that's something Jimmy Butler is going to have to seize those moments come playoff time, because there's going to be another moment where Steph is not on or Steph is being taken out, and Jimmy Butler needs to show why they went out and got him.
Yeah, that's very well put. Like, the Jimmy coming in hasn't really reaped any sort of big picture benefit in terms of his individual upside yet. I think it's helped in a couple of ways. It's shortened the rotation and clarified the rotation in a lot of ways. It has also, I think, been a ceiling raiser in terms of like some of the work he's been able to do inside ceiling against switches, two-man game with Steph, a little bit more reliable shot creation when Steph's off the floor. So I don't want to completely minimize the impact he's had while he's there. I mean, you mentioned it perfectly. Like, Steph and Draymond have just been better since the deal because now they believe in the team because of the deal. However, there's a additional upside they can get to here if Jimmy actually starts to be what Jimmy used to be. It's entirely theoretical at this point because it's been so long. But I mean, here's the thing. If Steph plays like he's been playing before the Sunday game, after the deal, and if Draymond can keep this up and Jimmy does get to that level, that's where this becomes really scary in terms of what they're capable of in the late rounds of the playoffs. And the upside there is similar to the Lakers. I think the Lakers and the Warriors have a lot of room to potentially improve between now and like a early May or late May series potentially. It's just there's also the flip side of that to where, let's say that Golden State catches Houston in the first round because they end up dropping to 7 and they win their play-in game, and you go into a first round series and Steph has a bad game in game 3 when the series is 1-1 or something like that. If Jimmy can't at that point leverage himself to help the team, they could be looking at an early exit. And that's where it gets scary. And part of that too is the Western Conference. Like, you could legitimately get an awful matchup in round 1 for no reason other than that's just how the cards fell, you know.
That's the nature of the West right now and how tight things are at the moment. Like, it's just crazy how close all these series are right now. And I think you outlined the upside of the Warriors very well with, there's two sides of the coin with their size and how it presents advantages for them. And then there are some disadvantages for them. And we saw the advantage with what they did against Lakers and Luka last week. The Warriors switching defense showed the worst of Luka, and then against the Thunder switching defense, we saw the best of Luka. What would you say was the difference between those two games from the Lakers side?
The Steve Kerr and Mark Daigneault both made adjustments to their base defensive coverage to deal with the specific Laker matchup, which is basically that since the Luka trade, they've annihilated every team that's run a drop or an at the level type of traditional pick and roll coverage. And they've really, really struggled against switching. And the main reason why they've really struggled against switching is they've never had LeBron and Luka both going at the same time. In the phase right after the deadline, LeBron was going, but Luka was a shell of himself. His shot making was just non-existent. Then LeBron gets hurt. Luka came just came on super strong in that phase and got his shot making going, and then
he's
LeBron
averaging
came
like
back.
30 like the whole past month, pretty much. Great efficiency. He's back. He's back to being Luka besides that Warriors game.
Exactly. And so the most exciting part about the Thunder game, because you got to take some of the Thunder game and set it aside. The Lakers got over 1.5 points per jump shot. That's outrageous. So like some of that you got to set aside. Like I think the Lakers can beat the Thunder in a playoff series, but I don't think they're going to beat them by 26 4 times and sweep them out of the playoffs. So like it's more complicated than just that. That said, that Thunder game was the first time we got all three. We got the Laker defense from before LeBron's injury, which was LeBron flying around like Draymond on the back line as a helper and a communicator, and everybody flying around in rotation and just them looking like a great team defense, right? Also, Luka, devastating matchup attacking, LeBron, devastating matchup attacking. You need those last two pieces for this team to be good against switching. And so a lot of it, like you saw in the Warriors game, same sort of thing. Kerr's going to run a lot of drop with Post and Draymond. And Daigneault runs a lot of drop with Chet and Hartenstein at times, right? They can also switch. Both teams will also switch, but they also run a lot of drop. They ran a ton of switching against Luka. In the Warriors game, Luka could not score against switches in that game. And so he was never able to compromise the defense to the point where he could get them in rotation and generate catch and shoots. All of a sudden in the game on Sunday against the Thunder, Luka comes out like, Hartenstein, come here. I'm scoring on you over and over and over again. Suddenly now they're having to blitz or linger with two on the ball. Now you're getting those advantages. They did a good job too. This is a mistake they made in the Boston game a while back. Instead of just focusing only on attacking bigs, attack the smalls in the middle of the floor. A lot of Luka, LeBron, high post ISOs against Kayson Wallace, Alex Caruso, Isaiah Joe, right there in the middle of the floor. That's where they can be aggressive with their size advantages. And so I think like my ultimate thought coming out of that game was it was the reminder that the Lakers certainly can win the conference. It's just like anybody else in the West, they have their flaws, they have their inconsistencies. And so I kind of came out of that weekend feeling like anybody can win the West. I don't know about you, Kevin, but like I was like any one of these teams could do it. I mean, the Wolves have won 14 out of 17. The Clippers are red hot. The Warriors are red hot. The Lakers are red hot. Like the Rockets are red hot. Anybody can win this thing.